Right now, a human has to
Very
do this
detailed.
because there's no way Facebook's going to give an AI agent. But if it can log into you as a computer, a year from now, a robot can do this task. Right now, a human is doing this for me right now. Welcome back to Bot Bros, part of the AI-driven marketing podcast. This is the series where we turn AI hype. Man, I really got to work on this. That's the problem. We turn AI hype into marketing help. It's only our second episode, people. Like, come on.
It's my fault. I was the one reorganizing the words right before the show started. My bad.
So that's what's going on today. I'm Dan Sanchez, joined by my brother Travis Sanchez, hence the Bros and Bot Bros, where we have a grab bag of different news and different things going on in the AI world, translated for marketers, because we all know a lot of this AI news is not particularly helpful for marketers, and even honestly, it creates a bit of angst. Like, we got some news today that I'll have a breakdown on it that feels like, oh my gosh, do I need to be figuring this out right now? Like, I can't wait to get into it because there's a bunch of stuff on the horizon with AI that just makes me feel anxious because it just feels like I need to capitalize on this now. And if I don't, I'm going to be left out. Well, hopefully in this episode, in this podcast, we can bring some clarity onto the things that are currently working and the things that are currently just hype because everyone's talking about it. But I promise no one's actually using it. And if they are, they're not using it well and it's actually not working for marketing. So True. Let's kick it off with the headlines with some news around this week, starting with Apple Intelligence. I know you and I have been on Apple Intelligence on the beta program, testing out the new Siri and stuff, but it just finally released. It just dropped into everybody's iPhone. I think it hit Wednesday. So if you have an iPhone 15 or 16, you have access to Apple Intelligence, Apple's AI stuff, which is kind of fun, kind of useful. But I think they are actually breaking it out into phases, right? So they have what they released now, which is kind of an updated Siri, some AI writing tools in your notes, email, and text, and filtered and summarized email and text. Next, I think in December, they're releasing the Genmoji, which is like AI custom emojis, integration with ChatGPT and the image playground, kind of like DALL-E, but like limited to some styles. And then next March, we get the big thing, which everybody's waiting for, which is like being able to talk to Siri and it actually able to do work between apps. Nobody really knows how that's going to work, but everybody's looking forward to it.
Gosh, is it really till March? Man,
yeah, that freaking March.
It's this, what, in June? Maybe even, I think it was in June. I thought what they're releasing in March was going to be available with the new phones, which that didn't even happen. So, wow.
Their head of product somebody asked him about that because everybody's like, it's like even their marketing for this was like, hey, it's glow time. None of the new phones, which I bought 16. No. It didn't come with glow time. It didn't come with the new Siri. It didn't come with anything they promised. That was the big thing. The only thing that it came with new was this little like photo button on the side that nobody cares about.
If I'm being honest, I think Apple had to play major catch up with the AI boom for their new model. So they had to do a lot of work and then promise what is on the horizon versus working on hardware and software, what they traditionally do. Whoa.
Yeah. They're catching up. But at the same time, they went on the record saying like, look, like we want to make sure it's working well before we release it. So yes, we didn't release it on time, but we're making sure it's working well before it goes. And honestly, the more I use it, the more I'm like, it works pretty well. It's smooth. It doesn't screw up. Now I've been on the beta, so I have seen it screw up a few times, but I'm pretty confident this release they just released works well.
I got pretty used to ChatGPT, especially because 04 preview or 4.0 preview was out. So when I downloaded Siri, it was did not meet my expectations, but I hope the integration with ChatGPT in the next phase will meet my expectations.
Yeah, I actually really like it. The updated Siri was needed to happen. It's like, gosh, okay, now it's kind of getting closer to Google. Kind of what Google was back in 2015 when it worked even so bad. That's how bad Siri was. So that's nice. The writing tools are super nice. I love being able to, because like how often are us in professional, we're using texting for professional settings all the time, right?
Right.
And it's so nice just within my text messaging app to be able to be like, hey, make this sound more professional. Hey, make this more concise, make it more friendly. That's really nice. That's kind of like the only thing that's probably useful for marketers in the fact that I was going to make a full episode on like my deep dives about Apple Intelligence. And I realized it's kind of nice for personal use what they're releasing even later this year, but it's not
Right.
really something marketers are going to be like really finding useful in their marketing workflows. Personally, it's great, but it's not a game changer for marketing.
I find that the friendly or business suggestion that Apple Intelligence offers is far less superior than ChatGPT, though. The casual voice, when you ask ChatGPT to be casual, man, does it do a fantastic job. And the iterations you can do afterwards, Apple just doesn't quite have it. I tried it and I was disappointed. So I always just switch back over to ChatGPT.
I should test that. I literally just asked ChatGPT to make something more friendly earlier today in a custom GPT that understood the brand targeting women this morning, and its ability to make it friendly and personable and warm. I was like, dang,
Well, it
I
doesn't
need to
sound
run
like a
all my
bot.
scripts through ChatGPT. It's so good.
It doesn't sound like a bot. And I felt like
Yeah.
Siri or Apple Intelligence 100% sounded like a bot.
I know, but like the nice part about it being able to do it in your text messaging is it's just faster, unless it's a really critical text that you're sending out or a mass text. Generally, we're just kind of like shooting from the hip with text messages. We're collaborating with teams, boss, vendors sometimes on text messages. It's nice, especially for me, because I'm like typo king. For it to just proofread it.
Yeah, proofreading. I think the proofreading's fine, but to give it alternate text, I guess I'm waiting for that plugin, and I know they have it. I've watched videos on it for something like the Gemini to be writing your emails. I think I heard someone hook up his ChatGPT with an API to his Gmail, and it just drafts every response to his emails, and then he just goes and rereads the drafts and then edits them and sends them out, which I thought, okay, that is some serious automation for email response.
Dang, bro. I'm going to segue into the next piece of news because this is a major topic that everybody's talking about. I think it's not ready yet, but it's fun to talk about like the future coming on here. Is Microsoft just launched its first agents, which was interesting news in the AI world.
Wow.
They have a number of different agents, and they're defining agents pretty loosely. Some of them are like custom GPT type things where you're like, okay,
Right.
like it's completing a few steps. Some of them are going above and beyond and being able to mine a database and actually bring back stuff to you proactively. So I'm like, oh, that's
Right.
sounding more agenty. When you hear the word agent, like what comes to mind though?
That's hard to ask for me only because I've seen so many videos of people sending agents to call hotels to get better discounts, and it was a true voice to voice conversation. I was shocked at how clear this person was. It was in Spanish actually, and then they were translating to English. So, however, I do get a little bit scared of the technology of agents when it actually starts getting a little bit of independence, reading up on it, having two agents talk to each other so they can have some synergy and problem solving because they're both equipped with different specialties. That I was like, uh-oh. So I'm trying to stay positive and hopeful that this is going to have regulations and protection security measures on it. But yeah, it brings a new wave of AI in the marketplace for sure.
Everybody's talking about agents, and I honestly don't think we have any true agents yet. I think the calling ones are the ones that are most interesting, but I don't even think of those as agents because they're executing. They have a really clear path they're trying to navigate, and it's interesting how they can take how they can be in a live conversation and still drive people back to the main point they're getting to, which is really cool. But I still don't consider those agents. What I consider an agent is to be an AI has more autonomy to be able to
Yeah,
troubleshoot issues to complete a task, which is
right.
really hard to do. I can't give AI instructions, be like, hey, I need you to accomplish this project, and it go through and then run into roadblocks and then overcome them. That's what I would expect a human to do. If you have a good executive assistant, you say, hey, I need lunch reservations for this restaurant. And it goes to execute the plan and get lunch reservation, finds out that restaurant's booked, but can't get back to you to find what your backup would be. A good executive assistant is going to find the most suitable option nearby for you to meet and then fill you in on the reservations from that restaurant, right? They're just going to improvise and do something.
Yeah,
AI
but
can't do that yet.
you know that an executive assistant would ask before it got sent on the project, it would say, hey, if that's booked, is there another restaurant you would like me to book
Yeah,
or
yeah.
give me two extra options? So do you think AI could be preemptive to ask those kind of questions, even if you
It's
give it a
starting to
task?
get there. It's like we're starting to lay the groundwork. Like in O1 preview, there's times where I asked, that was the thing that I was surprised about the O1 preview. The first thing I did to test that model, since it can reason, is I was like, hey, O1 preview, make me a marketing plan. And it thought about it. And it's like, Cool. Yes, would love to make a marketing plan for you. For what company? So it
Really?
preemptively asked me a question back, knowing it didn't have anything close to the right amount of details in order to make a true marketing plan, right?
Wow.
So it's starting to get there. Still not there. I've heard Claude does better at this, at asking you questions back.
Wow.
But I don't think anybody's even close. I think we're just rigging GPTs to become agents and
Yep.
giving it really clear parameters to pretend to be an agent, but we're actually not there
Right.
yet. So, but in the future, we'll all have personal assistants baked into our iPhones where it's like
Right.
doing our work, replying to our emails, and every
Right.
once in a while flag an email for you to see and be like, hey, I was going to send this reply, but it looked a little bit more sensitive. You should look at this. A
Or
good
it will
executive
text
assistant
you.
would.
It will text you and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
you have an urgent email that you need to look at."
Yeah.
That would be wild. I thought, as I was thinking of agents, being speculative in my futuristic thinking, AI might do a better job at customer service where you don't know you're talking to an AI and make you feel like $100 in dealing with either a problem or sales and you're wanting to accomplish a task. And I thought, how amazing is that? And how also kind of terrifying. Am I getting
Right.
too nihilistic? I feel like I'm always
It's
ending with,
hard not to.
and
It's hard
then,
not to.
and then Terminator 2 happens. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man. That's not this show, but it is a fun show to talk about, like all the ways AI could go wrong, right? Where we try to take the optimistic route because AI is going to be amazing. There's also going to be major
Yes.
hurdles and bad things that happen with AI. But
Correct.
this show covers like all the things that are opportunities for
I
marketers to
can't
make
do.
life
That's
better.
right.
The
I
customer
can't
service is
do
definitely
that.
going to be one of those things that are made better and
Yeah.
scalable. And then we won't have to deal with like that
Yes.
drive-through experience where they're like, what do you want? How can I help you? It'll always be uplifting and perky and sympathetic and all that kind of stuff. It'll be
They
great.
have it in drive-throughs, but it's so
Yeah,
unrealistic
not there
that
yet.
people don't like it. Yeah.
So the Microsoft launch of their agents again is one of those things where there's a lot of hype about agents. Is it useful for marketers? No, not at all, because it's not reliable enough. It's only people on the fringe of AI are experimenting with this stuff. So don't
Right.
get caught into the hype about it. Everybody's talking about it, and we have more news coming in with a viral post from a very prominent. Well, it's a person that everybody knows in the marketing circles, though he's not a marketer himself. So we'll get to that in a bit. But our last piece of news, which I think is some really helpful stuff, is Adobe. Right? Adobe released a
Dude.
ton of updates last week in their conference around their design tools. They had a whole suite of AI tools, but some of the big ones were like their generative fill got better. They're releasing more AI video tools that are like, kind of getting on par with Sora, which still isn't released yet. They also talked about a new philosophy they're going, which is interesting for the rest of AI because I think this will be taken on by other companies too. They call it promptless AI,
Yeah, I
where we're
saw that written down as a talking point, and I wasn't even sure what it was. And instead of ChatGPTing it and being like, "What does promptless AI mean?" I was going to let you explain it to me.
Yeah, promptless AI is this idea that we don't need to, they don't want to make it so you can just ask AI what you want. It'll just be baked into the tools. So instead of, hey, make a graphic for me that has X, it'll be like, hey, here's an image, fix it this way, extend it this way, make it more this, make it more, or I think you'll just have tools to make modifications to things and extend your ability to create without it taking over the creative process for you. Because Adobe's bought by creatives. They
Right.
don't want to replace the creative. So I think they're
Right.
taking more of a route where we're going to make AI an assist rather than the key role in the driver's seat.
That makes sense.
So I think most tools that marketers use, I think it's safe to say that every tool marketers use will have an AI layer to it coming soon.
Wow.
Just like Adobe's adding it into everything, every tool you use will have AI. It probably already feels like that. Everyone's adding AI, but right now all the AI tools are kind of like this weird
First
ChatGPT
gen. Yeah, it's like first
like
gen.
layer that doesn't even really help that much. But AI, like I'd say Adobe's ahead of the game when it comes to like implementing it into tools. Like we saw it like where someone can illustrate it like a picture and then they can rotate
Yeah.
it in 3D space, even though it's a 2D drawing. That was like mind blowing.
Yeah, that was crazy. Did you
Um,
see did you see the generative fill for the video that they did as an example?
I'm like trying to remember.
There
I
were
remember
two
I saw
guys
them.
there were 2 guys running parkour, and they just had done one of them did a front flip, and one of them just jumped over this bench, but they wanted the clip that they were testing to just go 3 seconds more.
Oh yeah, it was like
Yes.
yeah.
I don't think it was great, but it was the best I'd
the
seen.
future. And as the
Yeah.
model gets better, like anybody who's edited video knows, like there's many times when you're like, man, I wish I would have got 5 more seconds of that clip
Yeah.
for this edit. So that's helpful. There was another tool that I think is really helpful for marketers, or more like helpful for the graphic designers that report to marketers. But it used to be a pain to make all your different ad sizes. But now in Illustrator, like you can lay out one ad and just be like, make new canvas sizes. So maybe you get like a, like a portrait or like a 8.5 by 11 size.
Yep.
Well, what if you want like a skyscraper size, landscape
That's right.
size? You just drag and drop the canvas and say copy from this, and it relays it out. Layers included. It's not like a Mid-Journey image where all the layers are stuck into the thing. No, all the layers are there, and you just arranges it in a way a designer would, in order for you to come up with a whole set of advertisements that all look and feel like the one, but as if a professional graphic designer relayed it out for all the things. I'm like, that's going to be helpful. Shoot, marketers probably open up one asset from a designer and then resize it themselves. Correct. So marketers, I predict that marketers, because of these tools, more marketers will become graphic designers because the tools will be able to take original design, and then marketers will just be able to repackage it really quickly in ways that they need.
I can see that being a huge success in social media banners, because every place has some, not even just print material for lanyards or trifold, but just for your social media banners that are all these awkward sizes. Man, how quickly you could develop those graphics.
I think that was even part of like one of their slide deck images, like never Google a social media image size again. Which we've all done. How many times you've been like, what the heck are the dimensions of Facebook page headers? So many times. You're like, is this the 2025 or 2024 model of this? So a lot of cool AI changes coming to design that's going to help designers, but even help marketers. So I love what Adobe's doing. So that's it on the news. I want to jump into a poll that I performed recently on LinkedIn, and I got 247 votes. And I just asked the question, which AI tool do you use the most? The options were ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and then other or none as like a catch-all category.
Right.
Have you looked at the report yet?
I did. I'm looking at it right now. Were you gonna quiz me and see which one? I
was gonna quiz you. I think I knew what the answer was going to be before I even put this out. Like everybody knows, if you're watching this, like if you've seen the poll, then you know already, but like you knew ChatGPT was going to win by a landslide.
Yeah.
What I was curious about is like, yeah, but how much of a landslide? And then I knew Claude would be second. And I was like, yeah, but how far behind is Gemini? And in the comments, what do people say? What did I miss? So of course, ChatGPT won by like 81%. Claude came in next by 8%. What a disparity. Gemini, amazingly, I'm amazed that Claude and Gemini are so close, because Gemini came in at 5%, and then other and none came in at 6%, just ahead of Claude. So, wow, that's like, when seeing ChatGPT has like 81% of the market of this limited little poll, but I think it's a good reflection of reality. It goes to show, like, if you're a marketer, you've probably heard of like category kings and positioning. Whoever is the category king takes the freaking lion's share, and it's coming up right here, because Claude's made some huge progress this week, and a lot of AI people love Claude way more than ChatGPT. I hear it over and over again. The people who really these tools prefer Claude.
Not these marketers. They're all into ChatGPT.
No, because most people are using ChatGPT because it's the category king, and Claude would have to do a freaking ton, and ChatGPT would have to screw up royally in order for them to lose their throne. Because again, the lion's share always goes to the category king, and ChatGPT is the king. Claude's got.
So do you think Apple Intelligence? Do you think Apple Intelligence made it into the other or non-category?
No, not even close. You probably haven't seen. This is what I can quiz you on now. What do you think made it into the other category? There's some things that people were fighting for. What do you think that
really?
Yeah. Like
my guess is some like video AI tool like HeyGen or Opus, or
not even close.
Is it
I'll give you a clue. This particular tool, in fact, there's two tools that came up the most, but one in particular that was the most popular, doesn't have their own language model. They depend on everybody else's. Both of them do, but one in particular was like the clear people are really loving this tool.
Grok?
Now, Grok is its own language model. I didn't even
I
add
have
Grok to the list because I knew nobody's using it, even though it's got its own strengths.
I have no idea. Nothing's coming to my head.
Perplexity.
Perplexity.
Yes. Lots of people fighting for Perplexity. It got a lot of love in the comments of like, how could you leave out Perplexity? I'm like, because it's not its own language model. It has to use everybody else's. But a lot of people are using Perplexity as their number one tool. Like they're using Perplexity more than anything else.
Is it because it seems a little bit more traditional, scouring the internet with better functions of showing you links right up front? Because it does a decent job of making you feel like what it has looked at is more than, because when you Google something in ChatGPT, Google, that's funny. If you use ChatGPT, to search something, even in videos in YouTube, it does a great job, but it doesn't link unless you ask it to link the videos, where Perplexity really does a good job of showing you the thumbnails and making you feel like it did its due diligence. That's my guess why people like Perplexity.
I think I only pay for ChatGPT. I probably need to cut over to Claude soon and start playing with it because so many people love it. I can't stand. I find that Perplexity can be even more confidently wrong and misleading personally because it can link
Bro,
to
you
things,
put
but it
me
links to
onto
people.
Perplexity.
I know, but I actually stopped using it because it got one search for me so wrong and confidently that I was like, no. But I probably should go back. People are telling me the paid one is much better too. What they like about Perplexity is, one, they can choose which model it's using if they're paying for it, and there's some other features in it where you can create like spaces and build articles and essentially use it instead of like a ChatGPT to do more.
Okay.
So some people are really liking it, and they're finding it's probably a better crossover tool between Google and ChatGPT, or just using straight AI for a lot of their things. So I think people have more confidence in that because of that. But I don't really like it that much. I asked it one time. I'm like, hey, what's your guess on how much it costs to like reupholster a car interior? And it confidently gave me a price range that was way off, because it had sourced links from how much it cost to upholster furniture and interpreted it as the cost of upholstering a car. And it was drastically wrong because, of course, a car is like at least 5 seats, right? Versus a chair is 1 seat. So it was like off by a magnitude of 3 in cost estimates.
Shoot.
So but it said car, even though it linked the things for furniture. I was like, I think ChatGPT probably would have got this right, even just pulling from its long-term memory without having to source the internet. But
Right.
I don't know, AI problems. So that's kind of the wrap up on that. Like, I'm trying to think of like, what's the takeaway for marketers on common tools? If you're using ChatGPT, that's okay. Claude, there's a lot. If you want to go deeper and experiment with other models, that's good too. They're starting to really come up with unique features. Hence, Gemini's got Google Notebook LM. Claude's got some really cool features we're about to talk about. But otherwise, I'm diving deep into AI and I haven't really dove into Claude or Gemini much at all. Have you?
No, I only use Grok for searching tweets that are like live news, because I want to know something. I want to know if anyone's been tweeting about it. That's been helpful. But other than that, I haven't used these other ones. I do need to use Claude myself.
The people I find using Claude are AI fanatics, so they're willing to pay for more than one tool. The other people using Claude are content marketers that are more particular about writing because Claude delivers better writing. I'm not, so I've just been using ChatGPT's writing. I should probably test it out to see like, okay, how much better is Claude than ChatGPT on writing? But honestly, I think ChatGPT is such a better writer than me that I'm already like, hey, what ChatGPT gave me was better and faster. I'm like, it's good. But maybe I need to level it up and start using Claude more. I don't know. Moving on to our next segment, we have our viral post for the week. And this is the one from Claude and Anthropic that everybody, I felt like, was talking about in the AI community. If you've heard this as a marketer, then this has been big news. But Dharmesh Shah, who is known in marketing world because he's the founder and CTO of HubSpot, right? So huge marketing platform. Yep. He's like breaking news in this post. Anthropic announces the ability for Claude to use a computer. Yes, you read that, yeah, right. AI will now have the ability to use computer software like humans. This drastically increases the potential use cases for AI agents because no longer is it necessary for an API to exist for a specific functionality you need to access. So I'll stop reading the post there. Essentially, Claude launched this feature to where you can, it's kind of technical to actually get it set up. I watched Matt Wolf like set it up and actually run it. Essentially, you create a terminal where it can have access to a desktop with basic tools like spreadsheets and web browser. And you can ask it like, hey, I want you to go to this website and scrape these things, put it into a spreadsheet, and then do some calculations with the stuff in the spreadsheet, like a personal assistant. But now it has access to anything you would have access to just on the web. Log in as me for Facebook. Here's my credentials and do these things. It can now navigate a UI on your desktop computer and execute commands. And I watched Matt Wolf do this. And you know what I found is it actually was able to do these things. It was super clunky. It didn't work very well. It hit a lot of errors all the time. This is like one of those things where it's like, oh, big news. Is it useful? No, not at all. Like it can't get very far down the field, but it kind of shows you what's coming like right around the corner. Like this is probably maybe prime time or like where it's starting to become useful.
Right.
My guess is 6 to 8 months from now.
Wow.
So that tool, like, is this the first you're hearing about this tool?
Yes.
So he asked at the end of this post, what would you automate if you had an AI agent that could use software on your computer? That was his question. I'm going to dive into some of the things that people said on LinkedIn, but what would you want to automate?
Wow. It's hard for me to think about it only because I want to know its exact functionality. And I know you said it in a way, but I was thinking in terms of like sales applications, like how could you ask it to generate leads based off the most like-minded or topic-driven creators or topic-driven Instagram users and send me the contact information for each of them and put it in a spreadsheet so that I know who to contact or send a message to. So like generating leads for sales reps, like, I mean, the use case could be endless, but that was the first thing that popped into my head.
The first thing that popped into my head, because I literally just assigned this to a human to do. I just did this like last week. I assigned this task and it was very detailed instructions. I was like, okay, I need you to go into this Facebook group where there's a huge crowd of people that have been posting testimonials there for years. I need you to go through from the most recent all the way back to 10 years. This is a lot of data, a lot of posts, multiple posts a day. So it's a big Facebook group. I need you to go and find all the testimonials people are posting about the company or the product. I
Oh
need
my
you to
gosh.
take the first name, last name, put it into an Excel sheet. I need the link to the post in the Excel sheet. I need you to copy the post and put that into a field in the Excel sheet. And then I need to know whether there was a photo before and after in the Excel sheet. Once you've gotten to 300 of these testimonials, stop. Of the most recent ones, stop. And then I need you to go back and start asking via DM or via reply in the comment if they don't respond to the DM, if we can get permission to share this testimonial publicly, get explicit permission. If they say yes, send them to a form where they can put the copy of the post link in there and give their name, email, and yes, give me permission. And then that puts it in an Excel sheet. So detailed. Right now, a human has to do this because there's no way Facebook's going to give an AI agent. But if it can log into you as a computer, a year from now, a robot can do this task. Right now, a human is doing this for me right now. Right?
Wow. If you think it, you can just ask it to do it.
Yeah. You might even be able to, like, I had to create very detailed instructions for what I wanted so that there was no ambiguity about what I needed to have done. I imagine in the future, maybe even a year from now, you will ask, hey, I need more testimonials. Can you go and grab them all from Facebook groups and get permission from them? It'll actually just create the steps for you and then start executing them, which is even crazier to think about. Yeah. I think the fun thing about AI is it's a blank canvas to accomplish a lot of things, but you still have to have the idea of what to do.
Correct.
And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Well, this was the original thought when AI first came out. Alex Hormozy said this all the time. And he was like, listen, just because AI is there doesn't mean it's going to give the abilities to people that don't understand their niche or their specific field. If you are a copywriter, you'll know what good copy looks like. You and I both know we're not great copywriters. So we're like, ChatGPT does great. Well, a creative, good copywriter will be like, yeah, but it's lacking this and this. And I mean, we're decent because we're marketers, but if you know your field, it will only exponentially grow the capabilities of task management, delegation, and creation, whatever it is.
It will if you embrace the technology early, because there's a lot of people that are like poo-pooing this thing, being like, oh, no, it's no good. It's no good. You're like, it's pretty good and it's getting better. Like it seems like I'm hearing AI updates every week on some major breakthrough. So it's getting better incrementally, but at a very fast pace. So, but there's a lot of
I
people
mean,
that are like, no, I'm full analog. You're like, well, you should probably start practicing on the thing that's going to take over the world in the next couple of years. But sure, you stick to your
didn't
craft.
it,
There will always be a market for pure analog.
the union and dock workers went on strike saying they did not want their jobs to be automated and wanted a contract for the next, I don't know what it was, 30 years or 50 years, basically declaring that their jobs will not be taken by automated systems.
Yeah. Isn't that what the whole Hollywood strike went after too around AI?
Was I know it was the Writers Guild that went
That
on
was part of
strike.
it.
Was it
Yeah,
about AI?
part of it. That was part of they knew what was coming.
Wow.
So there might be more of that, but I don't know. New people will figure out ways around it. So we'll see how it goes.
Right.
A lot of the users for this particular post from Dharmesh were like, I wish this thing could just update Salesforce for me. I'm like, yeah. For any salesperson, like updating Salesforce or marketer trying to keep up with Salesforce entries, I'm like, that makes sense. Some guy was like, read and reply, or George Fisher said, read and reply to hundreds of team messages and emails I get every day.
Wow.
It does get overwhelming, emails and Slack, right? When some of them are easy answers. My buddy Logan Lyle said, following, oh wait, what did he say? Sorry, he's just checking out to see what was in the comments too. And Fishkin said, crawl LinkedIn. I'm like, yes. Just the ability to crawl LinkedIn for like maybe even reaching out to people I'd love to have as a guest on this show and looking for the right people and giving it qualifications and just looking for people as me on LinkedIn. I'm like, yes, please. That would be great. So lots of different use cases. It's not ready for prime time yet, but it is a huge step forward. Everybody and most people in the AI community knew this was coming too, because OpenAI bought like a whole software company for like 100 million or something. It's a huge deal where that specializes in remote logins. So you can control someone else's computer from your computer. It bought that software and everybody was like, yeah, AI is going to be logging into people's computers and fixing things. So swinging back to customer support, that's going to be nice. Wow. Hey, it's not working on my computer. I can't get into my email. It's like, can I just log in for you and fix it? You're like, yes, please. It drives for you, fixes it, done. Of course, maybe your own AI assistant will do it and you won't even have to ask somebody's customer service for it now. Whew. But that is the viral post of this week. Dharmesh Shah with the news around Anthropic. Moving into our next segment of community highlights. I teased this in the AI-driven marketers community this week based on a question I had gotten from an email, but it was about the future of SEO. The future of SEO. I think a lot of people are concerned about that, especially in B2B marketing. Is very dependent on like Google search marketing, on the paid version and the organic side. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to SEO. How do you think SEO is going?
I think for my own use case, there has to be a system for writing for AI's search engine. So when you use ChatGPT, it's obviously scanning the internet. How does ChatGPT search the internet? There is going to be a time where we're going to know how we can write for these AI models. There has to be.
Let me even step it back. Are you how much more is ChatGPT getting questions you would have gone to Google with?
All of them. I don't use.
There's nothing Google. You're going to Google for anymore?
The only thing I go to Google for is I want a specific image of a bird or some animal that I want to show the kids that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That ChatGPT, I don't want ChatGPT to give me an image. I just want the image, the real image. I could use ChatGPT, but I could just Google it so much faster.
Yeah.
I ask ChatGPT everything. I don't use Google anymore. I can't stand looking for information tidbits on Google. Drives me crazy when I can get it instantly on 4.0.
I'm probably using Google a little bit more, but I find the thing that I'm using Google for more is like local things. I need to know about store closing times. I need the phone number for Home Depot. I need the directions for this. So it's actually almost like 80% of my Google searches are local focused. Some of it times it's image, or it's a search for something that I know specifically lives on the internet and I want that specific thing.
I would agree with that.
It's a website that I know is out there somewhere. It's a blurb about something. It's very specific. It's a book that I know exists and I want it sold somewhere. It's something highly specific that I know I can find online.
Shopping if I want to Google something about a price for a speaker.
Yeah.
But honestly, ChatGPT might be better at finding prices online than Googling it.
No, really?
Oh,
I would
oh.
think even Perplexity would be better than ChatGPT at finding prices.
Well, I don't use Perplexity, but maybe I should.
Are you testing it right now?
Yeah, on LG projector.
Yeah, show me. Can you share your screen? I have to see because I don't believe it. I'm having doubts. Well, share your screen. Show me the goods.
I'm giving access.
Do I need freaking?
No,
live?
it's working. It's working. You know.
Restream. Come on.
Oh no, I can't. I can't share it right now. I have to do a whole bunch of things. It won't let me.
You have to clean up your ChatGPT history.
Yeah, look at LG Cinebeam 4K.
I can't show me.
I know. I can't show you. It makes me want to close Google, which would close the stream. So that would be bad.
Yeah, I don't want that.
There it is. Price. Here's all of LG's projector laser projectors. All in all.
So it went and searched via Bing.
Yeah, searched 5 sites. LG offers a variety of projectors with popular options and ranges, and they just gave me the prices for each one. Now, it doesn't show me images, but it gives me links to go to that.
And of course, ChatGPT has a search feature that's coming out. And I've been telling people, like, look, if you just ask it to search on Bing, it's pretty close to what the search feature is probably going to be. Of course, it's its own search engine, not just piggybacking off of Bing, but like enhanced search results are coming to ChatGPT and it's getting more useful. So it's just interesting. Obviously, like I asked the question earlier on LinkedIn, and it was a pretty good post. A lot of people engaged, like, yeah, I'm going to ChatGPT more for search. So obviously it's going to impact SEO because it's starting to change our behavior, but we're also using AI a lot. It hasn't caught up to the mainstream. Most people are still going to Google.
No, my boomer parents are not changing to ChatGPT.
They will.
Maybe
AI gives better answers, more specific answers, and
I agree.
You can dialogue with it.
I agree. They still have dumb Siri going, Siri, I'm like, why are you talking to dumb Siri? She doesn't know.
Let me search the web for you.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right. So marketers, if you're investing a lot in SEO, this should be very concerning to you because it's obviously going to change it. The question is how. I plan on doing a deep dive episode with like breaking this down in more detail of like how I think this will play out, but know for sure that it's changing. On that post that I just referenced, I had a VP of marketing say that she already has inbound leads that are coming in to demo her product based on ChatGPT's recommendation for the software.
Wow.
It's already changing the buying process for those whose behaviors starting to change, and it freaking makes sense. I remember it was one of the first things I tested with ChatGPT when it first came out almost 2 years ago. I was working at Sweetfish, and B2B Growth was the big podcast I was hosting and trying to get into more things. So I asked it as a test. I'm like, hey, can you recommend some B2B podcasts? B2B Growth came up number 1, followed by a bunch of other shows. There were some prominent shows that I knew were even way more popular than B2B Growth, didn't show up in the search because it doesn't have access to download data and rankings in Apple or any of the other indicators. So we're going to get to a place where SEO, I think, will transition from SEO to AI priming. What the term for that becomes, I don't know. Maybe it still stays SEO because chat is doing the search. I don't know. But obviously, wherever the attention is, marketers will go. And if everyone's paying attention to AI, marketers will figure out how to manipulate the results for it, which is awesome as a marketer and freaking terrifying at the same time, knowing that marketers and politicians will be manipulating AI for it to lean this way or that way with recommendations in order to manipulate public opinion. But it's reality, and hopefully you're marketing good products and good services and feeling good about it getting in there. So it is what it is.
When do you think there will be a noticeable shift that the traditional SEO is going down and the search functionality of these, AI models takes over? Because I don't think anyone sees it right now, other than those micro moments where someone is generating leads. But that's
I think people who are dependent on SEO traffic are already feeling it just from the changes Google's been making. Because like Google something, like one, it gives you this long AI answer, which I find is actually pretty good sometimes. When I'm like, hey, how to troubleshoot a thing, it's step-by-step directions. It's getting better at that.
Yeah.
But it's like AI answer, a freaking wall of ads, and the first organic answer is buried to what used to be like position 7, like in SEO rankings. Your position 1 in organic results is like like 3/4 of the way down the page now.
Wow.
It might as like if you're on position 5 or below, you might as well be on page 2 of search results now. So I think a lot of people are feeling that hit from SEO because zero-click searches are becoming a thing. And it's getting pushed down further and further. I think I don't know. It's like, when does AI really, when does the use of AI cross the chasm and become mainstream?
Right.
I think it starts next year in 2025, but obviously it'll take a while to go over the bell curve of adoption. And I think that will play out from beginning next year. It'll start hitting the beginning of the bell curve next year because of, again, Apple intelligence, because ChatGPT is getting smarter with the O1 series. I think it'll take 2 to 3 years for it to see itself over. I think it'll happen fast.
Wow, it's fast.
Because I think Apple intelligence and Google is going to be forcing it and pushing it. So people will be pushed faster. They don't have to just go to google.com. Think about how long it took for Google to become the thing rather than the yellow pages. Well, everyone's already got a smartphone, so it's just going to be forced on them.
Yo, how does ads work out into this? Because ads was a thing, because when you searched in SEO, it would just put the right ad at the top of the page. But now if they're using ChatGPT, is Google going to shove ads into ChatGPT? No. They might into Gemini, but even if you're paying for it now, because you're having premium membership to use their services, they can't force ads on you. That's why people pay premium services. That's why you pay YouTube Premium, so you don't have to do the ads in front of videos.
Yeah. Sam Altman got asked about this, the CEO of OpenAI. Someone asked him if he would ever monetize through ads, and he's like, he actually specifically said that he would not do that, because he's like, and that's why we charge for ChatGPT Plus, and because they're the category king, they might never have to.
Wow.
And he's like, and it subsidizes all the free, because they have a pretty robust free platform, considering you don't have to pay for it. It's limited, and I haven't been on the free account for a while. Actually, it's probably been only a year. Crazy how fast things are going. It feels like it's been years. Actually, it's been a year since I've had a pre-ChatGPT account.
Wow.
But he says he's not going to do it. So that puts a lot of pressure for Google to not do it, but Google's going to die, because like, I'm really scared for Google, because you got to know, like, 80% of the revenue comes through AdWords and ad targeting, right? So what the heck are they going to do? They have to retake the king position. I think they could, if OpenAI stumbles bad, and there's a lot of rumbles inside that organization, so it's possible. But it could be a big thing. But for marketers, just know that SEO is going to change dramatically over the next couple of years. It's something to start thinking about. Even if you're still doing SEO, you have to start thinking about how it's work, not just to impact search engine results today, but AI priming for tomorrow. Because I find that AI priming is similar to SEO, because it's taking, at least based on how it's doing it right now, I feel like AI is overly dependent on references and the amount of references it's finding when it's doing its training data. Right now, it knows who I am. If I search, do you know who Dan Sanchez is? And it's not because of the memory knowledge thing. It actually, because I have done enough SEO work, enough LinkedIn work, that it knows who Dan Sanchez, the marketer, is. But it doesn't know what AI-driven marketer is, because its knowledge is only updated to like October of 2023. And this show launched in December. So it actually doesn't know what this show is yet. But it will when it goes and rescrapes the web.
Yeah, and when people really want to grow in their AI marketing mastery, it's going to get pumped. It's going to pump.
So community highlights, school community plug. Go to aidrivenmarketer.com/community to get on the wait list for that. I'm actually just going to open it up next week and start letting people in. It's going to be very exciting. A couple of tool highlights. Last week I reviewed napkin.ai. Oh my gosh. This is a free tool right now. It'll be paid soon, but it's an amazing tool. You have to use this. It's a tool where you can actually like build diagrams, and I'm using diagrams all the time in blog posts. You can literally, what I did for the last newsletter, if you're not on the newsletter, again, aidrivenmarketers.com, there's an email field, subscribe. They're fantastic newsletters if you want the short version of this show and just want to skim it. I'm using Napkin, napkin.ai to build all the diagrams for it. You can literally just upload a blog post to it and then highlight over a section, and it finds the diagram you need for that section. And it gives you options. It thinks this diagram, but then you can go and select one and it renders it for you. You can style it. It even is editable. So if you like want to modify it a little bit or change what it highlighted as like the thing, it's editable. And then you can download the SVG or PNG to upload to your blog or newsletter or whatever. So I'm using it for a lot of my content, a lot of my presentations have these really fancy looking diagrams that I didn't have to go through and find a template for in Canva or Illustrator. It's just done fast. This is a tool I would definitely be paying for when it comes out, provided their price is good. But right now
they
it's
have
free.
a paid version. I think they do have a paid version. At least that's what it looks like.
Maybe they just launched it because it was free when I used it last week.
Okay.
Napkin free pricing, starter plan. No, see, professional plan 0, enterprise plan coming soon. This is in beta, so it's free for now. It will be paid soon. So I'm sure if they're smart, they'll have like an intro offer to turn all their free beta users into paid, and that should be decent. So get on that early because it's a really useful tool. Right. It's even smart enough to recognize like data and then turn it into pie charts for you, which I find really useful. The other tool I want to highlight is Claude Analytics. Claude, other than this big update that it got to like be able to like search the web and do things on your browser for you, it got this analytics upgrade that I'm almost ready to buy Claude because they keep doing little things like this. I'm like, they essentially put in this JavaScript engine into Claude for it to be able to crunch numbers accurately and then use AI to display them and render them. Because that's one thing, if you give AI a bunch of like number data, its ability to calculate them all and to kind of render them all into a graph or to proper analysis for the numbers isn't that good. Now,
did you find ChatGPT wasn't able to do data analysis very well?
Not with a lot of numbers, not with a lot of numbers in a huge spreadsheet. If you give it a few numbers, it can crunch them and do the data. But if you want to do it with like a good size spreadsheet with like, more than 10, 20 fields, yeah, it's going to struggle to do all the math and then calculate it. So now Claude is building out like these as separate things in order for you to actually crunch the numbers. And that's something that is useful for marketers because how often do we pull in reports and need it analyzed? I think it's ChatGPT is relying enough to take qualitative data. Man, I need to do an episode on this for sure. But one of the things I'm having to do is take like a bunch of testimonials like that I talked about. I have somebody going and pulling all the testimonials and then going through a whole spreadsheet of testimonials and finding trends amongst them and then categorizing them and then counting them and then putting that into a graph. That it is good at. But we're talking about text less than data. It's different. So that's kind of a cool tool. It's in Claude now. I'm sure it will be coming to ChatGPT eventually because these tools are kind of like, oh, I'm the leader in this. Now I'm the leader in this. And they kind of go back and forth, which is why I still haven't paid for anything other than ChatGPT because I'm like, well, I just don't want to be jumping from tool to tool. I just kind of pick the one and stay with the leader. But I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are still preferring Claude more, so I should probably check it out. And to wrap up today's episode, I want to ask a question. What have you found is your best like personal use case for AI that you're going to a lot?
I mean, I've had it obviously draft a ton of things, job descriptions,
personal.
Personal. I've used it a lot for work. I'll leave it at that. Personally, I would say it is my main search engine. I use it for all bits of information. If there's anything I want to know, if there's any step-by-step thing that I want to figure out, why is my iPhone not syncing appropriately with my computer? Why can I not airdrop this video? It's a problem I was dealing with today. I searched ChatGPT and it gives me step-by-step. I don't know about you. If you ever search for Apple-related issues on your phone and you find like 18,000 blogs about it and it's outdated, it's like, oh my gosh, drives me crazy. So It is my brain that Google used to be, but I will say this. This is a fun story. There was a candy that I had when I was in middle school. So that was 20 years ago. I don't know what it was called. It was some Asian candy. It was a dried plum inside of a piece of sugar. I don't know what it was. I used ChatGPT to describe this candy. I had no name. And it said, oh, you're talking about Jingming Ping or something like that. I forget what it was called. And I was like, is that what I'm talking about? And I took that phrase, put it into Google, and the picture popped up. And it was like, oh, you want this? I was like, this is it. I've been waiting 20 years to try this candy again. So literally, ChatGPT had a breakthrough moment because I don't Google candy that's dried fruit and sugar. No one wrote a blog about that, describing it that way, but ChatGPT figured it out. I don't know how, but I love that it knows what I'm talking about. It kind of reads my brain with few words,
Something I'm using it more for personally that I stole this from you because you were doing it a lot. And I was like, is actually using it to process emotions.
Oh, I didn't even talk about thinking of my counselor.
It's surprisingly good. And guess what? Like it's all like, I mean, fairly anonymous. Hence, I was like joking about like your ChatGPT history, right? Sometimes I'm recording demos and I have to check my history to be like working through hard emotions about X. You're like, whoops, don't want that in the demo video, right? So
I will say that I am an empathetic person. It's like my number one strength. So when Scarlett Johansson's voice was on there, her voice was the most empathetic. It was the one that I like to talk to the most. And then obviously that got taken off. So every voice I'm like, nah, you don't sound like a counselor. So I struggle now, but man, I worked through some serious emotions using it for sure.
It's a great sounding board for emotions. It's amazing just to be like, hey, like, can you help me just think through some of this stuff? I'm really feeling like X and Y and Z about this particular situation. I feel like it's about this, but just help me talk through it real quick. Especially on voice mode, it's really good.
Yeah, but if you use the new version preview, if you mention too many words, too many emotions,
That's true.
It goes, sorry. It cuts you off and says, we can't do this. And I'm like, so you have to use 4.0, which isn't as good, but yeah.
Still pretty good. I think Sam Altman has also mentioned that they don't want people doing that, which is why O1 shuts it down. And I'm like, it's really good at it. And honestly, for on the go things all the time, it's actually faster and probably more efficient than even talking to a counselor, because I don't know, I don't want to pay a counselor every time I just am working through some emotions and just need some processing time on the go. But anyway, if you haven't tried this, try it out. Maybe, I don't know, at your own risk. Disclaimer.
I don't think it's risky. I think it's actually quite enlightening because you can ask it without a lot of negative impact towards you. It's not real. It's not a real human. Say, hey, tell me where I'm being maybe a little bit blind, and tell me where I might be a fish in water that doesn't realize he's in water.
Yeah.
And it will be honest with you, and there's no repercussions. It's just a chat. So I don't know. It can be a huge opportunity for people to discover themselves.
Yeah. So try that out. It's a fun little personal note because AI is getting good at figuring these things out. So that's it. That's all we have for the show on Bot Bros this week. Stay tuned for next week where we're talking about the week's updates from what's going viral on social, what is trending in the news and how it matters to marketers. So again, this is a show dedicated to helping marketers overcome the hype and turn it into help. So hopefully it's been helpful to you. See you next week.